All right, we're back. Seems like everything is working. It's been a little while since I've streamed, but really excited to welcome everyone back. If you're here, let me know in the chat. And really excited to bring you this session on, using or creating an inventory tracking system in Airtable. Feel like it's been ages since I've streamed, but really excited to be here again. So, here's our agenda for today. As always, we're going to be kind of checking off our checklist and just starting with a quick base overview. So our goal today is really, I recently purchased one of these bad boys for fun, which is a scanner. There we go. I won't blind you, but it works properly. And our goal for today is kind of understanding what we can do in Airtable around inventory tracking and management. And mainly I just wanted to play around with the barcode field and a barcode scanner. So our goal for today, first, we're just going to go over the base itself, and then we're going to dive into the barcode field. Why would you use a barcode field? A little bit of history of the barcode, and then automate some steps. So, we have this inventory tracker, and I'd love to be able to scan an item, create a purchase order for that item, and then potentially an invoice and things like that. So we're going to be kind of creating the basics around that. So as always, let's start with a quick base overview. So I'm here in Airtable. Let me close that. And we have our inventory tracking base. So this actually comes from the template gallery. So you can find it in inventory tracking. We don't really need more than this for our use case. And essentially we have all of our product inventory here, which has a product ID, some price, some information, and most importantly, a barcode. So I'll dive into the barcode in just a minute. A manufacturer, but really, what's important in this use case is really understanding purchase orders and sales orders. So you always want your purchase orders to be greater than your sales orders. Hey, Rohan, good to see you. Thanks for joining. And so essentially for each product in your inventory, you create purchase orders and sales orders. So we roll up the number of units ordered from the purchase orders. This gives us our total inventory. And then we have the units sold. So we create sales orders for each time we sell, that unit. And then we roll that up into units sold. So essentially your kind of inventory on hand is the difference between units ordered and units sold. And so what we want to do today is imagine that this is our kind of POS system, and that, someone coming in, we can just scan the item and then create a purchase order with one click for that item. So imagine we're selling at a food market or something like that, something really simple that can kind of serve as a basis for creating a point of sale system in Airtable. But as I said, frankly, this is more of a reason for me to play around with the barcode field and my new cheap barcode scanner. Okay, so that hopefully is a base overview. Let me know in the chat if that's clear. Happy to dive into any of the tables a little more and have a little more in-depth overview of any of the tables. Okay, so let's talk about the barcode field. So I have here a barcode, and essentially what a barcode is under each barcode you have these numbers. So barcodes are actually just numbers that are easily readable by a scanner. And so, what this scanner does is actually just read that barcode, transfer it into numbers, and then acts as an input, as a keyboard input for whatever system it's tied to. So barcodes originated, I think in the 50s or 40s, where someone wanted to track prices for all of their different types of products that we're selling. And the first thing that was ever scanned was a Wrigley gum. And really it's around, being able to price items efficiently and quickly. So essentially when you think about it, this is a key that lets you find whatever item is being scanned in your database. So Airtable being a database and Airtable having a barcode field lets you create this kind of really simple point of sale system. Hey, Joe. I imagine that's Joe from FinSuite. Good to see you. And so essentially, when you think about it, if your barcode, if this is just a keyboard and that little barcode is just your key, well, essentially scanning it should search in your database. So essentially, when you see a barcode in a database, it's actually just a bunch of numbers. And that is because something translates, well, the scanner translates this into numbers and lets you search. So we're going to do two things today with this barcode. So first, we're going to introduce it. I've kind of talked about, happy to answer any questions around the barcode field. Then we're going to search and add new products. So, initially when I kind of started looking into barcodes, I assumed that each barcode was unique to each product. So if I had 10 of these, I would have 10 different barcodes, but that's not the case. So these are usually at the item or product level. So every time you have this case of sweets, it'll have the same barcode. And how you can know this is that if you search for a book and you scan the book, usually you'll be able to Google that book and find the exact book. So barcodes are at the item level, so they're at the inventory level. So if I want to search for a product, let's say our goal is I'm selling products and I want to scan a product and find the item in my database so I can quote a price, right? So our prices are in the product inventory table. The price is right there. So what I should be able to do is scan and find the right item. Now remember, your barcode scanner is a keyboard input. So we're going to do Control F to find this barcode. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and scan this, this barcode. I got to hit it because it's a very cheap scanner. So if it works properly, give me a second. That's what I get for getting a cheap scanner. There we go. And you notice two things happen there. It might be a little small here. You see that the number was inputted, right? So that when the scan was successful, it inputted to where my cursor was. So I had clicked Control F, it finds that item, and because I was searching, I can pull up that record, right? So this is a way, let's say you're scanning items, you can pull up the right record and then potentially create an invoice or create a new sales order based off of that scan, and we'll do that in just a second. So essentially what I've done now is I've found a way to go from barcode to my database. So as long as I'm Control F, I scan the item, it comes into my database and I find the record that it's relevant to. So that was step one. Now let's go ahead and add a new product in here. So I'm just going to copy paste everything about the previous record like that. And I'm not sure, Rohan, if you're talking about my scanner. It frankly never works. This was the cheapest scanner I could find. And so let's give this a different product ID like that. So we're just adding in a new item. Let's say this one's $100. And essentially all you have to do is add in a new barcode. So just like before, now I was searching items. Let's go ahead and add in, let's say we have a new product in our inventory. Let's go ahead and open that up. And then we had to, add in the barcodes. So remember that barcodes are usually at the product level. And so I'm going to go ahead and I don't know if I can show you this. I have to hit it. I should have taken a different item. Give me a sec here. There we go. Apologies for that. And so now I've added the barcode for this new item. So now this is added in my database and I could search that item whenever someone comes in. So always remember, have a better scanner than I do. and hopefully you don't have to hit it a few times before it works, but we've added a new item, added a barcode, and we're able to add this item to our inventory. So that was a quick introduction into the barcode field, so searching for new products and adding new products. Remember, searching, you just do Control F, you scan that barcode, it'll find the item, and then adding new products, you add a record, and you simply open up that record and scan that barcode to be able to add it to your inventory. Now, the fun part is not adding in inventory. It's actually, okay, well, let's say someone comes to me and says, okay, I want to buy this item, right? How do I create a sales order automatically based on that scan? Or at least much easier than saying, okay, well, how we do this today is we go into sales order, then we say, okay, what was that we just scanned? We scanned this. So I have to add this sales order. I add it in here. I add the date. I link it to the right product, right? That's a pain. So what we want to do is, because we found that item by scanning, we want to create a way to just quickly click and add a sales order. So we're actually going to be using a few fields and a few cool new fields, and we're going to use Zapier to create this automation, right? So our goal is that when I scan an item, I can quickly add a button that says purchase this item, sales order, and that's going to create that whole process that I've just shown quickly and efficiently. So let me know in the chat if that's interesting to you. I don't know. I've gotten so much fun of showing barcode field. So this was enough fun for me, but really excited about the second part. Cool. So let me kind of hide some fields here. There's too much information. So we don't care about the type, colors, style, location. We do care about barcode. Inventory, we care about. Manufacturer, we don't care about. Either purchase order or sales order. Okay, great. So essentially, what we want to do is a way that when I find this record, right, the one I scanned, I want to be able to click a button to create a sales order that is a linked record in another table. So we're going to leverage a new field called the button field. So create sales order. Go to button field. So button is an open beta field. So I don't have the link with me, but if you search, you can go to the community. You could automatically get this new field type in Airtable. And essentially what it is actually initially a URL. So it says the label is open URL. What we want is create sales order. Let's give it a green, nice little green like that. In our action, right now we have open URL. That's what we want. And remember that when we click this button, what we want to happen is to create a new record in our sales order table, right? So I'm just going to write create sales order table. So let's just do that. That's not going to work. But essentially we have a button. And now what we want this button to do is to create a record in another table. So when you're thinking of, okay, we need to automate this, you need to usually think of Zapier. So let's go ahead and think of how do we do this in Zapier. So essentially what we want is when this is clicked, we want to send information to Zapier to say, hey, the product ID 100018 was just sold. Please go ahead and create a record in the sales order with that as a linked record. So let's go ahead and do that. And how we're going to do that is essentially through webhooks. So I'm going to start this from scratch. I'm going to create a zap. And we're going to call this create sales order. So let me know if so far the button field's been clear. It's a URL. That's what it does. It opens a URL, but by opening a URL, we can actually send a webhook to Zapier with information about what is being sold. So we're going to use webhook here. Whoop, that's not how you write webhook. Webhooks by Zapier. Choose trigger event. We're going to catch a hook. Continue that. So it's going to give us a URL. So let's go ahead and copy this URL. And initially, we're not going to put any information into this webhook. We're just going to say HTTP. So just go send a webhook that says, the question mark says that it's the start of the data you want to send. And we're going to say data equal test. Save that. So essentially, when I click on create sales order now, what it should do is open a URL with the URL of that webhook. And then Zapier should catch that webhook and say, okay, I've received some data. And we're going to pass information in that URL. So let's see if it caught that trigger. So see, it's a query string data is test. So now, no matter what we click here, if I click another one, it still says data equal test. Let's refresh this. Load more. Oh, it's found the same one. Okay, let me give it something else. Data test 2. Like that. We're opening that up. Let's load more. There we go. And then it just found test 2. So if you've been following me so far, this should give you some ideas of how we're going to pass information into Zapier from the existing record of the barcode we've just scanned, right? So what we're going to do is actually pass the record information into the webhook so that you know which record was clicked or which item was sold when that person, the salesperson, clicked on that record. So let me know if you're with me. Let me know if that makes sense. So essentially, we're going to change the parameters of this webhook to add information from our sale. Now, what we need to know is just the product ID. That's really what we need to send to Zapier. We need to send the product ID so that in the sales order, let me save that. We just need to create a new record. We can put today's date, and then we want to link to product, and then all of the other fields. So quantity we're going to assume is 1, but you can make that variable. Price is a lookup, revenue is a calculation, and so we just need to see sales platform, but we'll configure that in Zapier. So essentially, all we need to send is this product ID. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me know if that makes sense. Customize field type. So product ID. So essentially, I'm just going to send the product ID of the record that is being sold. So let's go do this. Product ID. Let's save that. And let's just test this, right? So essentially, if I find this right here, this is our little scan, right? Create sales order. That's going to open a URL. And if I find this one, it should have the product ID of what I just sold. Query string product ID 10008 or 18. So that is exactly what we wanted. And now what we can go ahead and do is create a new record into our new table. Hey, Colleen, good to see you. It's been a while. So let's go ahead and create a new record. Airtable. Action, create record. Continue. There we go. Base, we want to use the inventory tracking base. And then table, we want to create a new record in the sales order. So date, I forget, so you have today's date, Zapier meta. There we go, Zap meta human now. What that does is just inputs today's date. So this is some metadata that Zapier has around when this Zap was run. So you can put that into a field, right? So product, that's what we're getting from product 1, right? So we're going to get that query string from the webhook. Quantity, we're just going to assume that it's 1. So 1, there we go. Price is a lookup, revenue is a calculation, and sales platform, let's assume that our POS is at a farmer's market, right? So remember, our goal here is to create an automated way to track inventory, to do sales order. So we're just going to assume that this Zap is specific to farmer's market. So let me just go ahead and go into that single select farmer's market, copy paste that. And thing I learned over the weekend when I was setting this up is that you could add emojis into Zapier. Okay, cool. So essentially what we're kind of getting to is that when I click this button for any of these different records, any of these products, it should automatically create a sales order, which we're tracking through the sales order tab or table. And I'll talk a little bit about all the things that this opens up that I find really cool in just a moment. So let's test this out. Let's go continue, test and review. So let's just see if it created the right one. Boom, 10018. It created our linked record. What happens now is that we now have 2 sales orders and we've sold 2 units, and our inventory is now down to 2 units. So all of that is done with a click. Let's do a few more. So let's just turn this on. Okay, there we go. Let's turn this on. All right, let's try this one. Hopefully that works. Catches the webhook. See, you see that update. We update to 3. That's really cool. I don't know if you saw that. Let me do it again. Let's just do it again. Comes like here, and then updates to 4, right? How is that? Is that we're always creating a new sales order for every single linked record. So those last 2 were for 17. The one before was for 18. Cool. Okay, let's kind of bundle this together, and then we'll talk a little bit about other things that this opens up, namely around inventory management, invoicing, and a bunch of other stuff. But let me know if you have any questions. Now's a good time. There's kind of one step left here before I kind of talk about and wrapping this up. But let's just do one quick loop of everything. So I Control F. I want to find an item. So let's say these are my, I wish I could show you, but it doesn't, I got to kind of like stick it on something. But I am scanning here. So I'm just scanning this right here. So I got to hit my scanner because it's cheap. There we go. I scan. Whoops. There was a lot of stuff there. It doesn't make sense. There we go. I scan. I find the right item. And then all I do is create sales order. That opens up a new tab. And it updates my sales order. And I only have 1 unit remaining. Right? So that was a 2-click way. Imagine you have thousands and thousands of items. You could use Airtable as your backend for your inventory management. So I was quite excited about that. I don't know if you were. Now let's talk about just a few things that this will open up, and that's where we'll end for today. So imagine, okay, so right now, you want to track your inventory, right? So right now, what I know is that I know in this base that I have 1 unit, but what I'd love is that when we're close to 0, maybe under 3, we create a notification that says, hey, you need to order more of XYZ, right? So that's another functionality that we could expand on, because we could send this information into the webhook. So let's go ahead and add additional information. So this is just an example. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I wanted to give you an example. So let's say our next step is remaining quantities, quantity, equal, and I need to put an ampersand to say I'm sending a second equal, right? And then let's actually create a number field that is just remaining inventory, formula field that is units ordered, unit ordered minus units sold. So this is just the number part of this, right? Colleen asks, how is inventory being deducted? Right, so essentially we have sales orders, which have a quantity, and then we have purchase orders, and both of those are linked records. So we arrive at two rollups that have units ordered, units sold, and the difference between the two are inventory, right? So essentially every time I click this, it removes one from the inventory as the webhook in Zapier. So now what we want to send is sending the remaining inventory. So let's go ahead and go back to our webhook like this. Quantity equals remaining inventory, like that. So let's save that. It's missing a little ampersand here. There we go. So let me just make sure. So essentially what I should get in the webhook, if I click on this product ID, is 5 and the product ID right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back here, catch the hook, find data, load more, right? And then I have quantity equal 5, right? So that's one more. So now I'm at 4, right? So right here, I'm at 4 units right here because I just created a new sales order. But this is essentially saying before selling the last item, you had 5. So what you can do is an if paths does work. That checks whether what inventory level you are at, and then sends a notification. So let's say let's edit this one and just says path name is low inventory. So let's say catch hook quantity less than 5, right? And so then you could send a Slack notification after that, depending on your inventory level. So that's one way. Another thing that you can do, and I'm not going to go into this, is just for fun. You could also start sending invoices, right? So you could start after this step. You can not only create a notification, but you can also kind of create invoices or do things like that. So webhook really opens up a bunch of information, really kind of getting closer to that app functionality directly out of Airtable. Cool. So that's really what I wanted to show you. So I'm going to stay a couple more minutes. Happy to answer any questions around button field, webhooks, any ideas that you have. Otherwise, I'll let you go. So let me try this new camera only. There you go. Oh my God, huge. Sorry if I'm like looking here, as that's where my chat is. Like that. Okay, cool. So let me know if there's any questions. This was such fun to do again. Next week, I'm probably going to be showing how I track my time using the scripting block and different blocks. And after that, maybe we'll do finances. But I'd love to bring you on. So if you have a cool build that you're interested in and you'd like to show it off on the stream, let me know. I'm always open to any ideas. Cool. All right. Any questions before I sign off today? Nope. Okay, cool. You all know how to find me on Twitter. Aron Kor on Twitter. ARONKOR on Twitter. Reach out. This was super fun. Hope to see you next week. And as always, happy